show. My name is Tamás Marácz. I work for Danube Institute. We will talk about geopolitics, Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Hungary. This is the plan of this audition, and Liliana Schmiech is my guest. Thank you, Liliana, for coming to the show. Director General for International Affairs, University of Public Service in Hungary. You work in Hungary, but you are a Polish lady, geopolitical analyst, and I will ask you many questions. Finally, Poland, but we start with Russia, because there is a news yesterday from a BBC. I just quote BBC News that Russia Donald Trump has given Russia a 50-day ultimatum to reach a deal to end the war. Otherwise, the US will put some sanctions, very serious sanctions on Russia. It means to me that if we see the actions 1 month ago, Iran was the state who neglected the American warnings, and it paid a heavy price for that. What about Russia? Will they pay attention to Trump or not?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. Danube Institute podcast. It's always a pleasure and honor to participate in your great initiatives. Well, answering your question directly, I believe at the end of the day, President Trump is the only person who somehow can push the end to the war. He's not just pushing Russia, but I believe he's also put a lot of pressure on Ukraine. Whether it will happen, I'm not so sure. We will see how the situation will evolve in the future, because the situation is quite unpredictable. But I believe the peace talks, peace negotiations are one of the priorities of President Trump, and hopefully his pressure will pressure Russia to finish it. But at the end of the day, we know that no conflict stopped with escalation, but rather with the peace talks and negotiations. And hopefully, President Trump will be able to achieve it with both sides, because the important is that the both sides would like to discuss together.
When Trump says a timeline, a concrete timeline, it always shows that he is serious, he determined to do some action later.
Yeah.
Is it right?
Yes, it's true. However, it's not always, let's say, 100%, because we can see that with the tariffs, this timeline sometimes is a little bit more flexible. But I believe if he's giving such a specific timeline to one of the actors within this specific situation, I'm pretty sure that he's serious about it.
The other thing, other quotations, the US will send top-of-the-line weapons to Ukraine, which consist including Patriot air defense system, which is very serious offer to Ukraine. Afterwards, when Trump promised that he is not supporting Ukraine some months ago when he was elected. Now, the American position is seemingly changing. And my question is, do you think that the reason for change, because Putin has admitted to himself that Putin is not a reliable partner anymore?
That's true. He's not a reliable partner for President Trump and his policies. So I believe actually this might be one of the, let's say, answers to what has happened in the past. But hopefully, United States would be able to put an end to the ongoing conflict. I believe everyone wants it to be finished, not just Europeans, those who are actually bordering Ukraine, but I believe that the Ukrainian average people also don't want it to be prolonged forever.
I see. The other bad news, maybe for the European partners of US and Russia, is the threat of the America is that next, if you buy Russian gas or oil or trade with Russia, and the ultimatum finishes, and you still have, as a US ally, a connection with Russia, Washington probably would put a 100% tariff on your exports to the US. And it will hurt bigly, if I can say the Trump expression, to the European partners.
Well, I would wait with this kind of, let's say, dynamic and very harsh statements, because at the end of the day, the whole European Union is dependent on Russian resources. So there is not just one country, as it is always being perceived in the especially Western media. Then there is only just one country in the European Union that is dependent on certain elements of the energy mix of the countries. there are a lot of countries who are still importing raw materials from Russia, and it doesn't look like it will finish in the future. And I believe that we should diversify. We cannot rely only on one partner, especially if we look at the energy sector. So I would rather promote this more secure approach towards energy sector. And I wouldn't only focus on one specific, let's say, trading partner. And this includes, for example, now LNG imports from US, but at the same time, gas imports from Russia. So I believe we should diversify and not focus only on one partner.
This is Russia, and the other red flag for US is China. You just came back from China.
That's true. Indeed.
Were you satisfied with your trip? I mean, most of the Europeans who visit China, I don't know, how many times have you visited?
Yeah, it was my first time. It was my first time.
My question stays then, that were you surprised by the development of the Chinese economy and all the stuff what you saw?
Oh yes, actually I was shocked. And I was also shocked by the fact that the cities are actually quite clean and they are not overcrowded, which is quite surprising if we look at the amount of the people who live there. Yeah, I mean, China is a leader of, especially if you look at the very high-tech green energy sector, and there's no doubt about it. And it is a crucial partner for the whole European Union. If we look at the climate policy that we all agreed for, and I'm talking mainly about the Green Deal, and we cannot do it without China at this current moment. So I would rather suggest not constant confrontation that our Western partners are trying to imply on us, but I would rather suggest cooperation.
And what if the US, the main ally of European Union and European Union countries, doesn't allow this kind of approach anymore? Do you think the time...
What doesn't mean they don't allow, you know?
I mean, it's very easy. If the tariff war deepens, and there is a chance the world will go that direction, there could be other red flag, as I mentioned, the Chinese connection. And US could very friendly, just reminding the European Union countries, if you want to be an ally, militarily, economically to the US, you can choose either US or China. Do you think this time is coming to us?
Well, I don't really like this, let's say, only transatlantic approach into this especially sector, because at the end of the day, if China would like to, they could completely close the, for example, defense sector in the United States of America, because those two big powers, they are codependent. And, you know, I'm always saying it to my friends, either from the East or from the West, that we have a free market. So me as a consumer, I will choose a product that is cheaper, is reliable, but will satisfy my needs. And I don't believe that such threats from either from one side or another should work, and I don't think they will work. We are living in a multilateral world, and we cannot just focus on one specific trading partner, because dependence on one, it's not working, and we know it from past experiences.
Yeah, probably US is a giant, and he doesn't have a case to be afraid of the other giant, China, but we are small countries. Poland is big, actually, but comparing to China, we are small countries in the middle of Europe. Don't you think that this is a different case, that we can be in danger if there are conflict rises between the giants? The small countries will be caught between in a very bad situation, Poland and Hungary.
That's true. Let's say if we look at our economic power, GDP, we are not big, and I think that's our strength. On the other hand, that we can actually be more flexible on the global market, and because of our rather, I would say, small size, we need to also act in a different way. We are not huge global players, and that's fine, and we understand it, but I would say we are rather in danger because of the European Union's policy and the fact that we completely lost our competitiveness on the global level. but not because of the fact that we would like to trade with more than just one partner.
I see. We will talk about the European matters, the conflicts within the European Union. But first, I would just touch the topic what you already mentioned, the transatlantic relations, which is problematic itself without China and without Russia too. One complaint is, of course, the Chinese and Russia connection with some European countries. But the other problem is that what J.D. Vance and Mr. Trump always warned the Europeans during the last some months, that we don't spend enough on defense budget. We have mostly in the European countries a liberal, woke, gender, pro-migration policies, which the new American administration doesn't really like. Do you consider the recent transatlantic relations a low point or a very low point?
It depends. Like if we look at the bilateral relations, for example, between Hungary and United States of America, I think they are very good because President Trump's I would say is a very good ally of Prime Minister Orban, and Prime Minister Orban was probably, I'm sure, like the first leader in the European Union who supported President Trump during the campaign. So I would say if we look at these bilateral relations, I think they are great.
And Polish too, Polish-American.
Because that's, I would say, more complicated issue.
Yeah, but it was, right? But there was a government change.
Yeah. So in the previous government, I think they were also very strong, very good. But current government in Poland is rather following this Western Brussels agenda. And unfortunately, some of our key players in the government, including our Minister of Foreign Affairs, his wife, but also our Prime Minister, they offended President Trump in a very, I would say, rude way. You don't call president of the biggest player in the world in this certain way. I don't want to quote it because it's so low level. So there are some issues. President Trump supported the president-elect, President Karol Nawrocki, who will be inaugurated on the 5th of August, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe it will strengthen the cooperation with this regards that there is a continuity if we look at the conservative presidents in Poland, but unfortunately on this government level, it's not as strong.
And one sentence about the big picture, so altogether transatlantic relations without specifically Hungary and Poland, what's the big picture?
They are complicated. Unfortunately, I feel like there's some kind of a dead phone call between US and Brussels. Brussels was trying to diminish the role of President Trump, and I know that he remembers it. So I would say they're rather complicated.
Let's talk about the last part of the interview about the Hungarian and Polish standpoints of Ukraine, for example, and the war. I cannot find more complicated issue between the two countries than the topic of Ukraine. But you, before this conversation in the corridor, you mentioned, and I'm wondering what's your opinion, that the Polish standpoint is changing. We saw recently that the Poland was a big supporter of Ukraine, even in a war, sending weapons, etc., supporting their ambitions to join the European Union, all the stuff. How is it changing?
Well, I would say still a majority of the Polish population is supporting Ukraine per se, but I would say there's a big difference within the society approach and the emotions that are present. I have recently saw a poll. Unfortunately, it's not so up to date. It's coming from January, but that's the latest one that I was able to find regarding the possibility of Ukraine's EU membership accession. And if we look at the data, actually, majority of the people they don't see such possibility in the near future. First of all, we shouldn't be offering fast track to any country. If we look at the process of Poland's actually accession to the EU was very long. It was like 10 years. We started with the application in 1994, and then in 2004 we joined the EU. So we don't believe that. Actually downgrading internal EU standards for some kind of a pathetic gesture will serve nor EU nor Ukraine. So I believe the emotions are changing. People are tired. Of course, in the beginning of the conflict, almost everyone was trying to even get to the border with Ukraine and to help. Sure, there is still a lot of support towards the humanitarian aid, but people are tired. People are just tired, and I think that's nothing surprising. And everyone is just wondering when this will end.
I know that Poland's stance on Russia is very strict because of history facts. Yes. You have a very bad historic experiences with the Russian Empire. And from this point of view, as a Polish lady, I'm asking you that even though this kind of historical background, is there any segment of the Hungarian position, which is a kind of partnership with Russia, this is the Hungarian governmental position, which as a Polish person agree with or understand that?
Well, I won't talk on behalf of the whole nation, but I will
talk about your position.
Well, and I think that's actually what makes Hungary and, for example, United States of America so in line. You are putting the interest of your own nation on the first place. And I believe that's a very understandable thing from Polish perspective, because we are also trying to do it. So I believe that can be understandable. Of course, when the conflict started, in Poland we have this tendency to be very emotional about certain issues. But then when time is going on, the emotions are also lowering. So I wouldn't say there are some any, let's say, conflict, especially on the society to society level. The political the political level is another issue, but that's also a problem of the Polish government. If you look at the upcoming President Nawrocki, the first interview that he gave was to Mandiner.
Yep.
So I
Hungarian.
believe exactly.
I'm just telling the US that it's a Hungarian platform.
Exactly. So I think it already tells something. So I believe there might be some kind of a revival between our two countries, between our bilateral relations, and I'm actually very much looking forward to it.
I see. Lilian, thank you very much for the interview. Last question about Poland, because we cannot stop the interview without mentioning Poland. It's the most sensitive, probably. What's going on in Poland in the inner politics? Because we saw the government change. We saw that with the European Commission and the new Polish government get together, so they're solving together the problems, rule of law problems, all the stuff, judiciary and other problems. Yeah. If there are problems, yes. Can you analyze it shortly, what's going on during the last 1.5 or 2 years?
Well, so the situation is as follows. We have a new government, the government that is following rather the Brussels agenda. Nothing changed if we look at the regulations that were in the past some kind of a problematic ones from the Brussels perspectives, but the change of the government was enough of a milestone for the Brussels elites. We're having more and more migrants in the country. It's becoming more and more dangerous. Hopefully, with the very tough hand of our new president, the situation will change. But it's it's very complicated what's happening in the country. A lot of the, not even politicians, but some of the people who actually were working at certain institutions in the previous government, they were taken to arrest, and they were kept there for months, even though they had families. So it's not easy, and it's kind of scary.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you for the attention. Have a good summer still. Bye-bye next week.